Hi, everyone. So we're back. We're back with the other piece of our Donor Awareness Day talk. And I am so excited because now I have my other partner in crime here, Dr. Serena Chen, who I really have to let everybody know has been on board since day one. Dr. Chen is probably one of the first people I told about this initiative as I get tears in my eyes. And she was like, yes, right away. And she really helped spur me on to keep going. So I do have tears in my eyes as I say that, but you truly were. I don't know if you recognize that or not, but you truly were one of the first people who I spoke to about it, if not the first. So what we've done is we have, and as most of you or many of you may know, we got on board with the global initiative for the electronic medical records, and this is now part of a global initiative. And they've invited us into their meetings, and we've been able to talk about language. And this is moving forward. We are going to include donor conception, adoption, and really a full array of different types of families in the electronic medical record. And the beauty of that is it spurs the conversation, lets everybody see that this is just another way of being conceived, another birth story. But on the important part that I think we really need to address, and why we started this initiative that is now called Inclusive Family History, is for the purpose of
family.
right? Inclusive. We came up with that
Yeah,
together.
I love that. It's so, as soon as you came to me, Lori, it just, the light bulb went off and I said, this is a no-brainer, but because we're embroiled in third-party reproduction and we do it every day, it makes so much sense to us. But medicine is so complicated these days. Healthcare is so complicated. We're all in these silos. Most physicians, 95, maybe even more than 95% of healthcare workers really don't know what third-party reproduction is. They don't really understand donor conceived pregnancies. They don't understand donor sperm, gestational carrier, or donor eggs.
It's
And
just unbelievable when you think about that, right?
it is unbelievable, but the technology has moved forward so quickly. I mean, the first donor egg baby really wasn't born until the 1980s, and it hasn't become widespread until very recently. And even then, when we say there are hundreds of thousands of babies born every year in the United States, the number of donor egg babies is a lot, but it's still only 10,000. It's a very small portion. And globally, that number is a much, much smaller percentage, because in the United States, we probably do more than any other country in the world, because their third-party reproduction is probably the least restricted in the United States compared to most other countries. For us, it's so obvious that being donor conceived has a huge impact on medical care. Like, if your intended parents have like a strong family history of cancer, and then your doctor wants to do something with you based on that family history, but your genetics are not related because you're conceived through donor gametes, well, that means you're going to get the wrong medical care. So that's just like one example. Family history is really critical to medical recommendations, medical decision making, and giving you counseling about risks and benefits of procedures and risks of diseases. So it's as basic as saying to somebody, are you male or female or non-binary? Do you take prescription medications? Do you smoke or drink? Those are all really, really basic parts of a medical history taking. And whether or not you're adopted or you're conceived through donor egg, donor sperm, or gestational carrier also has as profound an impact on your medical care. And every single doctor, no matter what field, should ask you that question the minute they meet you, the moment they're taking your history. And yet 99% of physicians probably never ask about that, never even think to ask about it. And many patients don't know really how to bring it up, or maybe don't remember to bring it up. And that is having a negative impact on people's healthcare.
Yeah, we find that a lot, right? Like if you're in an emergency situation,
Yes.
like why would you even think of that?
Yeah, you may not remember. Yeah.
Yeah, or on
Yeah.
your partner's mind or on your parents' mind. Nobody thinks about that when you go into an ER. And then when you go into a doctor's office, you may or may not think about it, or you may have, you might be concerned about the reaction you're going to get. So really what we want to do is we want to take the onus off of the person and put it
Yes,
under
exactly.
medical.
Off the providers, off the patients, just make it automatic, completely
Yes.
automatic, because that's how we can make sure we don't miss anything, is if it's part of a routine protocol that's accepted globally.
And open up the conversation.
Yes, and it completely normalizes the idea of third-party conception, which is also something I think that would be that we need.
Yeah. Well, we do. We need people to become comfortable with conversations. And so what I
Yes.
found was so interesting about the global initiative, and not to take away from the donor conception and the adoption, but they were adding also like foster parents and step parents, because there's such an impact
Yes.
on how you're raised. And so
Yeah.
with all of that, and we want to foster the conversation, we want people to become comfortable in having the conversation in the medical community. We're now taking the other approach of going to the medical societies. And
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Chen has been instrumental in that. So
We're reaching out to all the critical medical societies because they're the ones who develop the guidelines and will help us implement these into all the electronic medical records and standard forms that are used around the country and hopefully around the world.
Right. And then we also want to help have the doctors become comfortable in having the conversation and knowing the language to use so that everybody's comfortable
Yes.
when the doctor approaches them or the nurse approaches them and asks the questions. So
absolutely, it's definitely part of an educational process for everyone, patients and providers.
yeah, so we are on the road, and we just want to give you the update for Donor Awareness Day and let you know that it's happening all over the world, because it is a global initiative, and it is a global way that people are being brought into the world, and we want everybody to feel comfortable in their own skin, and we want the doctors to know what the story is. I had told a story on the earlier chat that I had with Joe that I'm going to repeat right now. There was a woman whose both her parents were physicians who was born through sperm donation, who had gestation, who had gastro problems. Both parents physicians, both didn't even think that it was genetically related to the donor. And she struggled for years. This is a true story. She struggled for years, and then all of a sudden it dawned on them, well, maybe it was because of the DNA connection. And these were both physicians. We don't think that.
We're not trained to think that way.
Right.
So it's a process. And I think this is going to make a huge difference. And I'm really excited to be part of this, Lori. So thank you for including me.
Oh my God, couldn't do it without you. So thank you. And thank you, everybody. And stay tuned for the chat with Joe as well. And we'll look forward to keeping you updated. Bye-bye.